Hello, Tessa. Welcome. Thank
Hi,
you for
thanks for
joining us.
having me.
Could you tell us a little bit more about Hubbub, your organisation, and what you and the Food Savvy Partnership are doing?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a creative partner in environmental charity Hubbub, and our mission is a world where everyone's an environmentalist, whether they realise it or not. So in a nutshell, we design campaigns to inspire ways of living that are good for the environment. So we focus on people's day-to-day lives and things that are really relevant to them, such as food, fashion, homes and neighbourhoods. And we help people to take quite practical action. So in 2018, as you said, we joined forces with Norfolk and Suffolk councils to cut food waste because shockingly the average household in the region wastes £720 per year. But that was pre-pandemic, and it sounds like many people here have saved themselves a bunch this year, so that's good news.
Encouraging, isn't it?
A silver lining.
People doing that. So what do you think are the main barriers that are preventing people from wasting or making people waste so much food, and what do you think about the pandemic that's changed some of that behaviour?
Oh, good questions. So I think with the Food Savvy campaign, it's very much about addressing underlying behaviours which do lead to waste, while being mindful that actually different lifestyles, incomes, living situations affect that hugely. So for example, you won't be surprised to know that households with children waste more because everyone has a very busy schedule. There's fussy eating, portioning for small people is tricky. But the pandemic's shifted behaviours radically, as the audience has shown. And so we undertook some polling at the beginning of April. And I think COVID really gave us a taste of the changes that could be made, but also, I guess, in the context of today's discussion around food justice, our survey flagged some kind of key issues around access to food, which has really kind of snowballed throughout the year. So we found that 57% of people were valuing food more. And this was largely because it was the first time that they'd faced food scarcity or, staple items not being in the shops. And for this reason, at the beginning of the pandemic, half of people said that they were wasting less food. And 45% of people back then were worried about the cost of food. And clearly that's risen massively since then. So I think the pandemic's given some urgency to some vital conversations at a national level, but also led to a reappraisal of our food habits at a household level, which is quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, and I suppose real sort of personal and individual focus, isn't it, on what you can control, which I suppose is what your kind of environmentalist, even if you don't know it, ambition, which is fantastic. We've had a couple of questions in here. So does Food Savvy and your partners plan on running another campaign? Is the work that you're doing ongoing?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's lots of ways that everyone can get involved this year. So we've got a roster of campaigns coming up, but two that are in the pipeline. One, actually, we'll be launching a campaign. There'll be a celebration actually of the new food habits that have developed during lockdown. So very topical for today's conversation. So if you've got a silver lining to share, maybe cooking with kids more or cutting your food waste or eating more healthily, then we'd love to hear from you. The email would be campaigns@hubbub.org.uk. Maybe I'll see if I can pop it in the chat later. And then I guess a personal favourite for me will be setting up 2 food waste free streets in the region. So if you think that maybe you could corral your neighbours to take on the food waste fight, with some good prizes to be won, as well as doing good for the planet, then again, do drop us a note. And you can find out much more about the campaign, and there's lots of tips for making your food go further at foodsavvy.org.uk.
Fantastic. And we'll share your web address on our website as well, and maybe put some of the links and ideas that you've just shared with us as well, so that people can find everything in one place. That sounds really exciting and an amazing challenge for getting a whole street to go sort of zero waste. That's fantastic. There's another question here. So what can people like me, I could do with the advice, do to reduce the amount of food that we waste? Is there kind of 1 or 2 things that are sort of really easy, simple things to do?
Yeah, there's a few simple things. Obviously, planning your meals, shopping with a list is really key. Making sure that your fridge is set to the right temperature is a big thing that a lot of people don't know. So it should be between 2 and 5 degrees, and it's very confusing because all of our fridges have labels of their setting that doesn't correlate to the temperature. So getting a fridge thermometer is really worthwhile. That'll make your food last longer. And I think knowing the difference between best before and use by dates, and that's something that younger people tend to struggle with. So a best before date is still perfectly good to eat. After that point, it just means that its quality or texture may have changed, whereas the use by date relates to food safety.
That's wonderful, really useful. Thank you so much, Tessa, for those really handy tips. And I will be going and buying a fridge thermometer. My husband will be delighted that I'm buying a lot more eggs.
Brilliant. And we'll sign you up for the Food Waste Street as well, Nikki. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Thank you so much.